Good evening, and welcome to another episode of Unstoppable. I'm Victoria, and I have the love of my life sitting here looking at his glasses.
Howdy, y'all.
So, tonight, I really want us to dive into experiences for individuals or families of those that have had issues in a hospital with staff. I think it's critically important that we discuss this because I don't think a lot of people know, but Faith went in emergently over the weekend, and from the jump, there was nothing but issues. Is that safe to say?
That's correct.
So her doctor, or surgeon rather, for that matter, is amazing and phenomenal, and this has no reflection on him at all. So we go through the emergency department, and we end up already, the surgeon already let them know we were on the way, and we end up just in like a cluster, like nobody knows what's going on. They end up putting us in a psych room that literally looks like a storage unit. Is that safe to say?
That's correct.
Because it's got like one of those pull down doors, and they hold psych patients in it. And they said that was the only open room, which was not correct, because when we were going through and passing all these other rooms, there were other rooms open. And literally next to us is a grown man who is screaming and yelling at everybody at the top of his lungs, complaining his foot is numb, his leg is numb, and nobody in the world understands the pain like his. And Faith is like laughing at this guy saying nobody knows the pain like his. My foot's asleep, and then he's threatening like harm and all this other stuff. And when all this is going on, they first took Faith and told her that they were going to do lab work. And I expressed to them that she is a minor, and they said, well, there's not room for mom. It's a tiny little corner. They're only doing a lab, and she'll be right back. Well, Faith starts texting me, telling me that she's having a panic attack and that they have stuck her more than twice, and that now they're doing an EKG on her, which I had not consented to. And so I start trying to find her. And I guess the part of this I'm leaving out, because to me, I guess it is important, but to me, it's not relevant, is I'm 1 week post-op, and I have stitches and many, many incisions, and I'm not supposed to be lifting or carrying anything. And I'm taking all of our stuff, and I'm literally on the hunt now to find Faith. And I find her, and I'm, told you can't be back here, which is baloney if you know me, because that's not gonna fly. So she's had an absolute panic attack. They're telling her to hold still. She's like, they've stuck me more than twice. You're not supposed to stick more than twice before doing an ultrasound. They didn't even let me know they were doing an EKG. And then I told them that they were done. Like, it's done. And we had a great PA who came over and tried to intercede. And so we find out that the IV that they had finally got in didn't stay in, or for whatever reason they'd taken it out, and so she was going to have to get stuck again. So this just keeps going on and on. And I mean, at this point now, I would say we've been there, how long would you say, 4 or 5 hours at this point? And at this point, we've had no antibiotic, no pain meds, no nothing at all. And I don't want to go into specifics of what's going on with her, but it's pretty urgent because we're going in for emergency surgery, and literally nothing is being offered to her, even to help with the swelling. So finally, my husband gets up there, and why don't you take it for a minute? Because I'm already getting steamed up, and I know you're going to have to talk about the night up. So go ahead and you start.
Okay, where would you like me to start?
Well, when you arrived.
So upon my arrival, I immediately noticed a vial of blood
In the field.
left, as my wife put it, in the field on a surgical tray in the room where my wife was. And I'm like, what the hell is his blood doing here? Why is it still here? It's just sitting there. It's not even labeled yet. And you know, that right there shows you the incompetence of what we dealt with. I mean, just that one simple act. Who leaves a vial of blood laying around? Really? Right?
And everything else was cleaned off the tray.
Yes.
And that was left there.
So one of my biggest pet peeves is with most of the hospitals that we've dealt with, most of the staff that we've dealt with, is that these nurses, I don't know all the terminology for the techs, the practitioner, whoever. If you're working with my wife, my daughter, in any medical capacity, read the freaking chart, guys.
Absolutely.
No,
I know where you're going with this.
Know what is going on with my child, my wife, know what they're allergic to, know what they've been through. Okay, do your homework, know your patient. If you're there for 12 hours, know your freaking patient. Okay, this is not just a job for me. This is my daughter, this is my wife. And yes, I will get pissed. I will get up in your face. And the old cop guy will come out. And I love to see my wife because she is such a fiery vixen when she blows up on somebody for their incompetence. I just my daughter and I, we just kind of sit back and watch the show because it's quite enjoyable.
Well, we'll get to that in a minute because that happened.
But for me, I'm quite hot. And you know, I'm 6'1", 270, you know, so I dwarf most of these technicians in there. And, you know, it's just, it is mind boggling. You come in the room knowing my child has certain medical conditions and you want her to swallow a pill.
Well, it's not even just that. Let's go to
You
the
want her
fact
to
that
do
it's
other things.
now
Oh,
6 p.m.
now who's getting steamed up?
It's kind of sexy. But now it's 6 p.m. and we're finally taken to our room. And
She hasn't eaten.
She has not eaten. That's where I was going.
Yeah.
It's always on the same page. And I'm waiting and waiting. Half an hour goes by and nobody comes in the room. Not a nurse, not a tech, not Santa Claus, not Rudolph. Nobody comes in the room. So I go and I ask to get somebody to come in. I really don't get much of an answer. We have Faith hit the nurse's button. No, we'll send them in. Okay, nothing. So finally we get somebody and she's like, oh, I'm tired. I need to go home. I've had a day. So, okay.
She did say that.
Number one, let me just advise you the following. I have the patience of Job, and anyone who knows me knows that. So I was like, oh, I'm so sorry you're tired and, you know, you need to go home soon. Can I get the child something to eat? She hasn't eaten since like last night. And, you know, obviously she's uncomfortable.
Been like 18 hours.
Right. And I said, by the way, we need to set up and I need to get a feeding pump and I need to get this formula and I need to get this going and this going and this going. Can we go ahead? Well, there's no orders put in. Okay. I'd rather you tell me you're a lazy person than lie to my face because
Yes.
I will call you to the carpet every single time. Because you know what? At the end of the day, you're going to go home, you're going to kick up your feet, you're going to do whatever. This is our life. And you know what? I wouldn't trade our life for a damn thing. And oh, I can't do anything without orders. Okay. Can you give us a pillow maybe and a blanket or something for her? We don't have it. Okay. So this is how this is going to go. So we keep saying we need to get something to eat. We need to get something to eat for her. And oh, the kitchen's closed. And it's one excuse after another, after another, after another. Well, the resident for our surgeon, who was so nice, you got to give him credit. He's super, super nice. He comes in and he was like, are you kidding me? I put in the orders when you guys were in the emergency room like hours and hours ago. So we bring Nurse Nightingale back in the room and she blatantly lies standing there again. So the resident says, okay, I'll be right back. And he comes back and he was like, no, everything is in there. And she basically says he's a liar, which is not true at all. And still nothing for Faith to have edit her gut. Well, anybody who's ever had surgery knows that at midnight you are DC'd from anything, you're NPO. You're not going to have anything in my mouth. You are just going to have to deal with it. So now I'm looking and it's like, I don't know, close to 7. And she still hasn't had anything. And I'm explaining to this nurse that if you look at the rate delivered by hour versus how long it takes per carton, she's not going to get a lot. Like, I really need them to step up and get moving and do something. So I'm kind of like disregarded. Then there's some shift change. And we get, I don't even know how or what I want to name this creature that we had for the next few hours we had her.
I would say Nurse Ratchet, but that's
a compliment.
yes.
And undeserving.
Yes.
So Thing, no, I don't want to be Thing. I don't want her to be Thing because that's like, no. I don't know. Demon Child, whatever, comes in and says, where is her pick line or her central line? And I advise them that Faith does not have a pick line or central line, where she basically tells me that I don't know what I'm talking about. And my husband will tell you that in all the years he's ever known me, I don't drop titles, ever, never. And you guys have heard it when we're on air and he says, oh, doctor, and I'm like, shh, all right, whatever. Like, this is how I am. It's a piece of paper or a certificate, not to everybody. I mean, it takes a lot of work and hats off to everyone, but this is how I look at that, right? So she goes, no, she has a pick line or a central line. So I'm playing ping pong alone, trying to communicate with this creature. And I said, do you have the ability to see? Because if you look at Faith, you will see there's no central line, because where's the central line go? And I'm showing her on my person. And she's like, no, she has a central line. Oh my God. So then Faith says, I really want something to eat. I'm hungry. And then she says, can I have a Band-Aid for my nose? Because Faith got her nose re-pierced after the last hospitalization after just getting it pierced, and they took it out and it closed. So my husband and I put our heads together and we got a plastic replacement, and we had changed it out so that she could have the plastic one in there and it wouldn't get closed. We just needed to put a Band-Aid over it so she wouldn't lose it. And nurse, whatever, I can't come up with a good name that won't get me off the air. It says, oh, you want to be fed by nose? You want me to put a tube in your nose? And Faith is like, I'm losing my patience. And I said, you have your voice, and I really think that it's okay if you choose to use it. Now, I'm kind of hoping I get to sit back just for a minute and watch Faith go at it. And she goes, Mom, you raised me better than that. And as I was so proud for that millisecond, I was kind of disappointed. Because I've seen Faith
because she can go off, yes.
And she can rip off. Well, then my husband is asleep, snoring logs on the side of the room. And
I was gently taking a nap.
Yeah. And so I'm going to let you tell this part. Uh-oh. Because she ends up again saying, I don't know what I'm talking about the whole like pick line, central line thing, and about her getting fed through the nose. And I did something I never, ever have done ever. And I mean, little face was like, huh? So
my wife actually said that she is a doctor. She has a doctorate. At least one, multiple.
I didn't say multiple.
So I'm claiming you have 3 doctorates.
Whatever. See, it's automatic. So I look and I'm like, huh. And I go over to my husband and I gently wake him up. And I'm like, you need to get up. You need to get up, because it takes a lot for me to lose it. But when you screw with someone I love,
yes,
like glove, I'd say glove because it's singular. Glove off, let's go.
So going back to reading the chart, reading the medical records, reading everything, this line was taken out, God, months ago.
Oh yeah,
right?
Months ago.
Months. So why is it why is it still in the system? Or
no, it showed in the system. It was put in today. Sorry, it was put in yesterday.
The pick line was, oh my God.
It shows that the pick line was put in yesterday, or the central line. I didn't see which one. They just told me that it was shown that it was put in yesterday.
And can you do that in the room?
You can.
Is it a surgery or procedure?
It's Well, it depends which one they do. Some of them need to be done in IR. Like a PICC line would be done in IR so that they can use like almost like a scope or a camera to help thread it. They can do a swan at bedside. There's all different things that they can do. Anyway, so
But he had just got.
correct. And I woke up my husband and I said, "This is, you're gonna have to come here for a minute." And I'm like 1 to 10. I forgot 1. I forgot 9. And next thing I know, this nurse decides to scream at me and raise her voice. I didn't scream back. I did.
No.
Right. I didn't. I did not. So nursing staff, including techs, all from all over the floor, hear her, whatever, and come to view, I guess you could say, because our door was open.
Mm-hmm.
And you say what happens. What happens at this point when she's
Basically you did the whole shush, I'm speaking sort of thing. And yeah. So you have a commanding presence about you when you're
fired up?
You're fired up. There you go.
I did the quiet mode, if you know sign or whatever. I did the part for no wholehandedly. Right. And I said, I'm talking. Right. Okay, go ahead, sorry.
So my wife uses all the jargon that they use, okay? But she really dumbed it down for this lady because it was not getting through after the visualization that there's no PICC line, no central line in our daughter, because at this point she's wearing a gown and you can clearly see her upper clavicle area. There's nothing there. And my wife pointed this out. And so this ignoramus just failed to comprehend. I see it right here in the picture on the notes. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. So, needless to say, she got fired.
No, I fired her from
You fired her.
fear of our daughter.
That's right.
Yes. And she kept saying, I'm not yelling at you. And I was like, oh, really? Then how did you obtain the audience that's outside the room? And so she was screaming at me. She screamed at Faith. And I kept looking over at my husband, and he had this look on his face that was really, really it was cute, but I couldn't focus on my husband because I knew how that would work.
Okay, guys, when your woman walks into the kitchen or the bedroom and nothing but one of your shirts. And yes, you got it, guys, right there. And that's my wife when she's in action like that. She's so awesome. Anyway.
And Faith is just like, oh, this is gonna get good, kind of whatever. So I said to the audience standing outside the hospital room to please get me the floor nurse, the manager. And they did. And when she arrived, she's still screaming at me. The other one's still screaming at me. And I said to her, are you gonna say that the surgeon's chief resident or second in charge lied? Because you said there was no orders put in, and there are. And she, whatever. No, we're waiting on the formula. We're waiting on this, waiting on that. Then she brought up, before the yelling began, she brought up the wrong formula. And I thought they were waiting on the pump. Well, when my husband and I were walking around while Faith was in her procedure, they have a staff vending area, if you will, where you can order the formula. And it's right there. We saw it with our own eyes. And they didn't end up hooking her up till what time?
For the food?
Yeah. It was like
9:45, 10-ish.
Yeah, it was like right there.
She had very little.
She had next to nothing. And I kept asking, can you give her some pudding? Can you, give us some? Never even can we get her a water? Can we get her? I mean, it was literally nothing. So this creature, is still pushing me, if you will. Oh, and without asking me, she tries to give her a narcotic. And I said to her, I was like, excuse me, you don't have permission to give her that. And she goes, I don't need your permission. Okay, well, let me bring you back to basic square one. She is a minor. And not only is she a minor, but in the state of Georgia, you can't disperse a narcotic without parental consent. But as everybody knows, she does have special needs.
If the parents are there,
right?
we all understand that the doctors and the staff, they have their intentions, you know,
Right.
to maintain life or to sustain life, whatever their clause
We
is.
weren't there. We weren't
Right.
at that point. And then she asked Faith, what level is your pain at? Okay. This was really the straw that broke my back. And Faith is like, I can't give you a number. Faith has my pain tolerance. So she goes, I can't give you a number. So she takes her index finger and starts pointing it at her head, like, are you capable of answering this question? Or are you just not mentally there? Like, that was the way she acted. And thank God Faith didn't catch it, because I jumped out of the hospital bed where I was snuggling Faith, stitches and all. And that's where we got one-on-one face-to-face, because she literally was acting like, yeah, I can't even say it because it, like, to me, those words are worse than anything. So it was that just did it. When the charge nurse comes in, I expressed to the ignoramus, as you called her, that she was now fired because she was done. And I said, let me explain one thing to you before you're excused from the room. And I said, you know, when you have a child or even an adult in this room, this is not their choice. This could be the hardest night of their life. This could be the scariest night of their life. And while they're laying there, the unknown is heart-wrenching. It is so consuming. Sit and look at a clock and watch the little hand go by. A minute is so long. And when you don't know what's going on and you don't have answers, and the only interaction you have is a nurse that's supposed to come in here, you chose this profession. You know, it's really a calling. You need to be able to come in here and give them a little sympathy, give them a little empathy. How about just be nice? Let's not go too far up the chain and say, let's just be nice. How about, you know, I hope you feel better. Is there anything you need? You didn't even offer her anything to drink, nothing, absolutely nothing. And if that's how you're going to be, then this is the wrong profession for you. I have no idea how she even passed to get her nursing license. So I expressed to her, without raising my voice, unlike her, without cursing, I never said a curse word. I expressed to her that I'm giving her my professional recommendation that she would be best suited working in a morgue. Because if she couldn't find work in a morgue, then she needed to go find work where people are deaf and blind and didn't have to hear what was coming out of her face. And so when everybody walked out of the room, I wish I had recorded my husband and daughter's reaction. My husband comes over and literally starts looking to see where my balls are. It is not like this is the first time.
That was hilarious.
It's not like this is the first time they've ever seen me like this. This is what I used to do professionally back in the day before, you know, this all started.
Yeah. So my wife just touched on a subject here. Guys, gals, moms and dads, if you know that you're going to the hospital, okay, this is coming from two people who have been in the hospital a lot here, and my wife and daughter more than
9 years in the future.
probably, yes.
I mean, between the two of us, we've hit over 150 surgeries.
Guys, check your state law, but I implore you, write shit down, take pictures, and even record every conversation you have with a doctor, anyone coming in there to give you medical advice, something, record it, okay? It's simple to delete later, but at least you have it, okay? Get this on tape, and that way you CYA, and you can go back, like this nurse told us straight out, there are no orders in. And what'd you call him, the PA?
The chief resident, or second charge chief resident.
Told us, yes, I put all these orders in yesterday. So, guys, take advice from us and get your little recorder. There's different apps for Android and iOS that you can have. And you can set up your phone just one click of the button, depending on what phone you have, to start recording. I highly encourage y'all to do this.
Yeah, but I mean, and then we had expressed, even with the resident, that there was certain medications for pain that we didn't want administered. Because for those of you who remember or are new here with us, we welcome you. And the thing is that Faith, as you know, we've almost lost her
Over Christmas.
and in this last go around in March when, her heart stopped, we had a code, and then 2 days, like 36 hours later, she had an 11-second episode. So we made it very clear we didn't want fentanyl, we didn't want morphine, because they had her on that for close to a couple months straight. And then they DC'd her completely off of it. And she went through withdrawals. And it was so awful to see our kid.
It was horrible.
It was awful. And she got to the point where she was like, how much longer before I get my next dose? How much longer will I get my next dose? And Michael will tell you, this kid will go through other things normally. And it's like, do you need anything? No, I don't want any payments. I don't want any payments. I don't ever, like, doesn't matter. She didn't want any. But when she was there, she was withdrawing. And so they ended up doing the methadone on her. And nobody wants to see their child go through that. So we told them, we would rather try like a Toradol or a Tramadol or, something that's non-narcotic. And so without even asking, this ninny, if you will, comes back and she's like, oh, here. And I was like, what are you about to give her? Oxy. No, no. And I made it very clear. I said, there is no Oxy. There's no this. There's no that. Period. Statement is finished. Like, done. And normally, if anything, just Tylenol and ibuprofen help her. And so Faith is the person that if she doesn't need it, she's not taking it. She's just like me. And so when the resident came back again, he was like, I said, I don't want any of that. And I explained why, and he understood completely at that point. And he was fabulous. And so when we get to the day of, which was yesterday of the operation, we ended up having a good nurse during the day, but everybody was just so stunned at all of this and the behavior, of what happened the night before. And even the nurse that replaced her was good. But I mean, every time we've been hospitalized, we've had some incompetent ninny,
right.
And what was so important is, like, for instance, when we went down to pre-op, people need to know their stepping stones for real, because like when we went down there, they were like, oh, you're only allowed to have one person back here with you. No, first of all, she's a minor, so that scratches next. She has special needs, and the fact that like they were sitting there and chatting, and I said to the anesthesiologist when he came in, I don't know this guy. I know almost all of them, but I don't know this one. He's on call and he's on weekends, so I don't really know him. He's probably a floater who goes through multiple hospitals. And I walked up to him and I said, hey, let me give you some pointers of how this works. There are some things that will prevent her from having a panic attack. Now, Faith had 2 outright panic attacks during this already, like shaking profusely, unable to calm her down, crying her eyes out. And we are already in a really bad situation, needing to get into an OR. So I told the resident she has, medical PTSD documented 10 times over. There are certain things you can do and not do, and it'll make it 10 times easier for you, right? So I was like, let me just give you a heads up. The surgeon who was working on Faith has probably done 15 of my surgeries. So he has never operated on her until yesterday. And he is, you met him, I think he's amazing. He's a gifted, a wonderful, gentle gentleman.
He's an okay bloke.
Right. He is just the nicest guy, and I hope he's listening, because there's not a lot that care. There are some, don't get me wrong, there are not a lot of surgeons with his talent who goes above and beyond like this man does. I mean, they're not.
It's amazing what you said he does.
Oh, he goes all over
outside.
the world doing free surgical procedures on families and children that can't afford it. I mean, he's a saint.
That's amazing.
He is. He's as nice as he can be. He really, really is. And Faith likes to, be there and talk with him, and he spends time listening. So with all that being said, I was giving little pointers to the anesthesiologist, and a lot of times men look down at women. Well, when I'm having a conversation, I'm going to look you eye to eye. I will shake your hand. I've been told my handshake's a little intimidating. I don't know why my husband's looking at me like that. I don't know why. Why is my hand shaking?
You have a grip of steel.
Well, I don't get that, but whatever. And I told him I'm making this as easy as possible. There are certain words you don't say. You know, when you put together a community of special needs families and parents, you have more education, more training, and more knowledge than a lot of doctors, because we are the ones that will research and learn and everything that we can from the jump. And when after expressing all this, then we had the head nurse come in and start asking all sorts of questions. And I love watching my husband's face, because I don't even know how to explain this when they start asking, but go ahead. Because I'm doing most of the talking today and now my throat's starting to. So you go.
So again, I'm always impressed with my wife, but I'm not impressed because she has set the bar so high that, you know, when I come home and I see, you know, 5 more certificates or another doctorate printed out on the printer, I don't jump for joy anymore, because she's hit that bar, she's hit that level, and she's exceeded that so many times in the past that, you know, all my yippee-ki-yay has already got up and gone.
Thanks.
Yeah. So it's just a finger twirl and a whoop-de-doo Basil sort of thing now when she gets the Nobel Prize or
Whatever. Whatever.
So the head nurse starts spitting off all these questions to my
From
gorgeous wife over here.
from a long years and
Right.
years ago.
When was the last time she had, you know, extra propyl, you know, fiber, whatever, right? And so all these medical terminologies, and she's saying, how many milligrams of this? And when was this last procedure? And, you know, what about this over here? And my wife is like a freaking 249 saw. I mean, just spitting out round after round, answered every one of these questions without referring to any notes, a phone, any type of record. I mean, just spitting off the date, the times, the locations. She's given the MLs for whatever the prescription may have been. And it's amazing to watch her brilliant mind at work. And, you know, she takes it for granted, y'all, you know. And I've told you she's got probably 200 to 300 certificates, 3 doctorates, and
That's whatever.
it's
Stuff.
nothing to her. You know, it's like changing socks for us, you know, if we change socks. Today I wore flip-flops to the store to get my daughter some taters. And
That's not my neck word for the day. Taters.
And I'm currently cooking a crock pot full of taters so they can be soft and mushy, and my daughter can eat them. Our daughter, because she's a little sore right now, y'all.
Yes. So the thing is that you need to know basic information, like know your blood type, know allergies, know, like they would ask how many blood transfusions, if any, when's the last time she had one, you know, how something not even documented it. They even had her taking the wrong medication that she'd never even been administered. And you go through all this and it's like, are you kidding? And when's the last time she got this? When's the last time she got that? When's this? When's that? Give me an approximate. No, I don't have to give you an approximate. I can give you right there. I can tell you exactly what it was. So it's all about caring for our child and, you know, what's right and what's wrong. And, you know, it mind boggles me that, you know, I lost my arm due to the incompetence of a doctor. My husband's going to spit into this one, I can tell. Incompetence of a doctor. Can I call her a slut? Can I just call her?
Yes.
A slut whore therapist, physical therapist, skanky slut whore physical therapist.
Yes.
And
good answer.
Do I want to say anyone else?
Love you.
And someone else. Anyway, so I lost my arm to that. And, you know, I know there's a lot more to the lawsuit about the person who got burned by the McDonald's coffee. I know that. But I lost my arm. And I was told there was no ramifications or way to go after them legally for this, which is, you know, bull crap and a half. There was, but the way to do it, I chose not to because I didn't want to hurt someone that I thought loved me and I loved back, who happened to be my bio father right out in the field, right? So yeah, you want to know about that one? The art book is coming out, and so yeah, but you need to know because there is mistakes being made left, right, and center, and yes, they have a lot of things going on. They have, um, okay, that's just scary. Like I just said, my bio father, and I got a pop up of that individual's um, ID on social media right then. And I am not following or friends with.
Told you everything's listening. That's why I don't like that Alex.
Whatever. Anyway, so you need to get stuff in order, get an directive done. You need to have a living will. These are all things that really do make such a big difference. Know what your family wants, know what your loved one wants. God forbid something happens, so that you can, keep in mind their wishes. But every time we've had a hospital stay, the incompetence is just unbelievable. And I know that's why they say it's practicing medicine. I get that. But then, like, let's look at this one last part of it before we go for the week. So we had a doctor who we've had from inception, right? Her entire life, like from day one. Well, yeah. And I took Faith to see him, and we were told it was XYZ. And I was told I needed to go see the surgeon. So I pull favors, and next thing you know, we're going in to see him. I send an email and pictures to the original doctor and say, this is what's going on. I need to get her on an antibiotic. No, she's fine until she sees the surgeon, right? And there's this going on. That's what we're told. So when I get to see the surgeon, he's like, why didn't you get an antibiotic? Well, that's my question. Why didn't they do this? Well, that's my question. So after the surgery, he expresses to me that not only was none of the things we were told she had were there, none of them were there, that yes, she should have been given an antibiotic, which was put into the medical record. And it also, what we were told was the cause of this was nowhere at the cause of this. And that's what scares me, is the fact that, some people, I am methodical. I know I get on people's nerves about how methodical I am about healthcare, how methodical I am about the care of my loved ones. But I can tell you right now, I have caught, and I'm not patting myself on the back, my husband will tell you, I have caught so many times I can't count anymore, where incompetence could have really hurt not only Faith, but myself. Like, she has an allergy to something, and the nurses tried to put it on her. We're talking about, the tape, tried to put that on her time after time, even though it's clearly stated that she has an allergy to this. And even Faith will say, is that Tegaderm? And they're like, yeah, I'm allergic to Tegaderm. Oh,
Which is clearly on the chart.
it's everywhere. It's on her
Highlighted on the left side.
band.
Yeah.
And I didn't even want to say anything until we were out of there, because had it been any other surgeon, I would have raised holy cane about this. I'm surprised that you didn't catch this. There was no allergy ban on Faith when she went into the OR. There was not. There was only her ID ban.
Just the ID ban.
They did not put an allergy bracelet on her. The only reason I didn't raise holy freaking cane is because the chief resident and I had gone over it in depth. The surgeon knew me upside down. He's done literally most of, like, at least 15 of my operations. And we went over it 100%. I knew exactly what they were going to be using on her, how they were going to be administering it, and exactly what they were going to be doing. So with all that being said, they had even told me that they had cleared their field in there of like Tegaderm. They weren't going to use any. They even asked me, can we wrap with this, this, and this? And I said, yes. So that they went ahead and had all that prepared and told me they took it out of the field. So it wouldn't even be an option at that point. But it's simple things like that. Like, if you are under the care of anesthetic, most people don't realize that you're on your own form of life support, because you're not breathing on your own. They're breathing for you. And if you have an allergy to latex, or you have an allergy to tape, they tape your eyes shut. Most people don't know that, but they do. They tape your eyes shut. And there's a whole list of things that they do. Well, they give you broad spectrum antibiotic. They do this, they do that. If you have a reaction to Reglan, because it gives you a dystonic reaction, which presents as like a stroke, well, that's a Reglan family. There's other things in that family that can present that way. So there's other options out there, so instead tell them you want this instead of that, and you don't want this, and make it very clear and known. And my husband keeps looking at me because I'm shaking my
I
leg.
have not stopped looking at you.
Because I'm shaking my leg because it pisses me off that if you have a shift and you come in and let's say you work a 10-12 hour shift. Is that our daughter?
It's our daughter.
And you work a 10 or 12 hour shift, right? And let's say you work 3 days on and 4 days off. I am not for a millisecond taking away the fact that you have a lot of work going on and you've got a lot of stuff to do, right? Like I am not by any means taking that away. But babe, I need you in on this one. So with that being said, is she okay?
She's okay. She wants to know about dinner.
Okay. Babe, with that being said, I totally am not taking away from anybody who works a 10-12 hour shift.
I'm sorry, that was.
Thanks.
That's in the wrong person?
So
I did. I'm sorry.
So what I'm saying is you have a 10 or 12 hour shift, 3 days on, 4 off, whatever the case may be. But you know what? You also have techs, you have other nurses, you have other physicians, you have all sorts of other people at your disposal that are there to help you do your job, right?
Right.
Okay. If that's the case, as for the longest time I was a single mom, I went through all of this by myself for a long time. And I didn't have a 12-hour shift. I had 24-hour shifts without a day off. And I promise you, I was on my toes every single one. And every single time I made sure if this is your profession and you're going into work, read the freaking chart. Like, know your patient, know what they like, know what they don't like. See, I go above and beyond when I work with families.
And do you remember how many patients we asked? How many they had?
4, but they also have techs.
Right.
And we were not on a floor where people were needing things 24/7. Right. We were
It was not busy.
It was not busy. There were so many empty rooms.
Rooms empty.
There were so many empty rooms. They even said they had too many staff. That there was just too many staff. But I mean, the point is that you have people who can help. Take an extra minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. If I was laying in that bed and you were coming in to check and give me something and I'm not at my best and I'm the patient and you say, hey, give me just a minute, I want to review the chart to make sure. I mean, they make us wait with like timers, like we're waiting at Applebee's or Longhorns for a table. Your table's not ready, your patient's not ready. Take a minute and read the damn chart and make sure that they don't have a reaction to this or that, or that they need this or that. And do your damn job. If not, find another occupation. I mean, I know healthcare pays well, but go find it in a way that you could, teach a class or, whatever, go work the morgue, go. And I know I'm pissing off people, but if it happens to you, you won't be pissed. I promise. I promise you won't. And if you have had it happen to you and you need the pit bull in your corner, just let me know because I'm happy to come up there and fight for our kids because these healthcare people, not all of them are. To them, it's a paycheck. Even in front of Faith, they kept calling her the case. This case will be done in a few hours. This case will be. No, it's not a case. It's my kid. It is our daughter. Don't call her a case. It's not a case. Oh, we have another case after this. No, you're looking at my daughter. She's right there. You have a patient who is a human individual. Treat her as such. Because how do you want to be treated when your time comes and you're laying in that bed? Right? How hard is it? Take an extra moment. How do you think you're paying for your golf club and your Tesla and your whatever and your wife and mistress and I'm just gonna let you close this out because
I love it. My wife gets fired up. So in closing, y'all, remember, record. Okay. There's going to be incompetent people out there. You can't help that, but at least you can, mitigate some of the erroneous claims. Like saying, hey, this moron said this, and I have proof of it. So my wife touched on a lot of things tonight.
Also, one thing we forgot, they did not have our permission to record in the room,
in the,
in the storage
Psyche.
unit. Yeah. Especially being that she's a minor.
it's probably on, you know,
No, they have to record
it's
it.
probably on a loop.
But they still have to have permission. What if she was changing in there? She's a minor.
Could be.
She is a minor. And you know what? The walls were bare. There was not one single iota piece of equipment in there. Not anything to detect. There was no pulse ox. There was no blood pressure. There was no, I mean, nothing in the room. Nothing. It was like we went into the timeout room. It was just ridiculous.
Continuing in closing tonight,
Victoria rants.
Victoria is able to provide y'all with the wills. Y'all reach out to her, the DNRs, the codicil, the power of attorney, medical power of attorney, all that hoo-ha jargon that I don't like to deal with. And be looking for our second book on the subject of narcissism.
It's the prequel to
It's
Who
coming
Moved
out soon. Okay, just hold your taters. I gotta go check on my taters. I smell them all the way up here. But Amazon has her first book, Who Kicked First, by Victoria Curie. Y'all go in there and check it out. If you are a healthcare profession, if
No,
you disagree
professional.
with, you know, things that we've said tonight, or
Not
you
all
agree,
bad,
or
not
you
all
agree,
bad,
right?
just majority.
Or you want to try to help us out. Stuff for that.
Mom,
Reach out to us at contagiousmile.com, contact us, and we'll get back to you. If you are a parent of a loved one who has experienced something like this, come on our show and tell us your experience. I think that about wraps it up. And as always, thank you for listening and sharing, liking and following A Contagious Smile. And this is Unstoppable with Victoria and Michael and our two lazy dogs sitting in here. The third one is probably in the hallway. Bye, y'all.